talking about problems that occur that can delay a closing and how to resolve them. I mean, pretty much every day that as an attorney, we're dealing with problems, otherwise we'd have honestly nothing to do. But most of the problems come up with, let's say, a title report or a lien search. And one of the problems that I am able to resolve is where there's a lot of multiple mortgages that pop up on a title report or lien search, and how to track down prior mortgages and research it. And the key is to start early, notice where there's a defect or some issue with the defective chain of title, and reach out to the different mortgage companies and figure out who went out of business and figure out. So I had one like that not too long ago, and there were like 5 mortgages outstanding, and the person did multiple refinances, which are great while you're doing them, but then there could be issues with like the assignments and how we have to clear it up. So we were able to track down a bank, the money tree from like years ago, and figure out who took it over. And it took several weeks to figure it out, and it certainly delayed the closing. And then we, at the end, figured out that we could escrow money for it once I was confident that we could take care of it, and we knew there was no money outstanding. And basically, that's one of the things. And I've had that both with co-ops and regular banks. So that's just something that I have issues with that can delay a closing. And I've had the good fortune to resolve these things fairly quickly.
I'm sure you did. So I'm trying to get Maria on, and for some reason it did not connect. I'll try again as soon as I finish speaking. But I'll let Leslie speak again. I think what I'd like to speak about really is, I don't know if it's necessarily a problem solving, but it's really something that's very important when you're looking at listings. And especially now we have a new MLS system. So they're printing out new listings that have a lot more information, and information is not necessarily where you would find it. But one of the issues when I search for properties, and I think it's something that the average person or the public really, they don't understand so much, is that when you look at a property, you'll often see a post office. So for instance, I live in New Rochelle, but my post office, my PO, is Scarsdale. And people are very confused because there are many communities like that, such as Bronxville. You can have a Bronxville PO, but the municipality or the school system is Yonkers. So when I'm searching, and the same for Scarsdale, you can have Scarsdale PO, it could be Yonkers. You can have Mamaroneck PO, and it can be Rhinebeck schools.
Or Scarsdale.
Or Scarsdale. So you have to write, there's an area that the strip, the Mamaroneck strip, often it's very confusing. You can have the way it was built, I guess years ago, the builder or somebody must have made an agreement with the municipality that if you live in the Mamaroneck strip, such as on Stonewall, part of that is Scarsdale schools. So you have to, when you're searching for a property, and the public really needs to understand that when the school system or the municipality also dictates where the taxes are being paid, right? So that's for the most part. So it's very important for, I think, the public to, when I'm looking for a property for a client, I always go into school systems, because then it negates the issue of the municipality, because people don't understand. They go, well, they'll call me on the property and they'll say, why haven't you shown me XYZ? This is coming up online. But when they look at if they're interested only in a specific school system, for whatever their reason is, I search by the school systems for that very reason.
That's a good point, because people could get confused.
They don't understand.
That you could have Mount Pleasant and Pleasantville,
right,
and that's another confusing area. So
very confusing.
People don't know what system, whether it's going to be Byram Hills, it's going to be Pleasantville, or Westlake,
or even Chappaqua. I mean,
right.
You have parts of that in Armonk where half the street is Chappaqua schools, half of it's Byram Hills. So I think you really have to be very careful. when you do your search, because in many communities it's not very, and it's also whom you pay your taxes to. People are very confused. Well, do I have recreation? Do I have Greenberg or not? So I think you really have to do a lot of due diligence when you're selling a property or representing a buyer or a seller. So you have to know what you're selling and really whom to check your taxes, right? Which municipality you get your taxes. Some
Right.
even Larchmont, like some of it's very confusing.
It
You have
is.
the town of Mamaroneck, you have the village of Mamaroneck.
And there's also different water systems. Some of these places also have water
Right.
that's private, some are public, and some are well. So you have to know what you're buying.
Be
So
very careful. I'm going to try, so excuse me for standing up. I'm
sure.
going to try again to
Okay. She's
to
trying to
connect.
get Maria
I don't
in.
know why it did not work,
So
but I will try one more
okay.
time.
So that's a good point, Michelle. Like when doing contracts, we really don't discuss school districts or anything like that. So it's whatever is in the listing sheet. That's what you're relying on. The only way I know which school district it is once I do the final title report.
Hello.
Oh, here she is. Very. It's not that we ignored you. I tried twice before, but my
I
skill.
I I know. I don't know what I heard you guys talking, girls talking, but I don't know what happened. I was not getting it on my end. So, but
Right.
I'm here now. So
Maybe you'd like to chime in and speak. We've spoken about different issues or different case studies or, concerns we have.
yeah.
Any
Uh,
solved recently or anything new in the mortgage industry?
I mean, listen, I have one right now that where somebody is purchasing new construction. And so he went into, they went into contract months and months ago while the home is being built. It's actually out on Long Island. And we did an appraisal, back based off of the plans, to ensure that, we could get the loan approved and committed and all of that.
Right.
And the appraisal actually came in a little lower than what the purchase price was that he was buying. It was not a complete surprise to the buyer, because he did feel like he had done some homework, and he said, there really weren't that many comparables available, um, and that he was kind of building like the most expensive house in the area, and so he was going into that with like eyes wide open. And I guess I think something that's important for people to understand is that like appraisals are good for 1 year, and they have an expiration date, which is like every 120 days, so they have to be updated. But we did his appraisal back in July. I can't just order a new appraisal now, when an appraisal has already been in the file, unless there's a change in scope of the work. And that occurred. So he decided a month or so ago that they were going to add an extra full bath.
Okay.
And so once we did that, rather than going back to the original appraiser and say, hey, go out and like reappraise this, we actually kind of had to defect that appraisal and send either him or another appraiser out there. Like it's a hands-off approach, right? So whomever our appraisal vendor manager decides, we are now sending out another to do a whole new appraisal based on this new scope of work. So hopefully, this is going to help bring the value up some, because now he's added a full bath. But it actually was like a real learning experience for me as somebody who's been in this for so long, because I was thinking, well, oh, we'll just go and we'll get the one that we already had done revised. But they were like, no, when you have a change of scope like that, then it creates a whole new appraisal, which we think for this customer, it's actually going to work in their benefit. So, and not have to have, because right now the loan's approved, but he has to pay some PMI because it was going above like the 80% threshold.
Right.
So yeah, stay tuned. We'll let you know, the new appraisal's being done today, so we'll see how that goes.
But I'm sure the value will be increased.
Right.
Don't you
I
think?
would,
I mean,
I would definitely, I mean, even if they use the same comps as the appraisal that we have on file, there's now an extra bathroom. So
Yeah.
that's definitely going to add value.
I think so.
But I would think so. But Marie, if he's doing a whole new appraisal, he's going to also add new comps, right? Because it's been some time. In the last 3 months, let's say, there have been some homes that could have sold. Not necessarily maybe exact comps, but I would think they would
Possibly.
be at least two.
Yes, that's right. So like now it does open up the database to be able to use, anything that's sold since July.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
In 6 months,
Yeah.
right? 8 months.
Yeah.
So it could definitely help, hopefully,
Absolutely.
increase the value in the appraisal.
Yeah.
So it's even when we're all in the industries, me 30 some odd years and
30
Leslie,
some odd years.
right? And
30 some odd years.
100, all of us. So the point, we're always learning something. It's amazing to me,
It's
right?
so amazing. And I think that, I like that we're talking about like problem solving or issues, because that's really, sometimes when people ask me like, well, what is it that you do? I'm like, basically I solve problems all day long, right? And
You can't even.
and
It's all day.
you,
That's all you.
I was mentoring another woman a few years ago, and she was a very like, I have my list and I have to check off. And she was like, I need to know everything. Like, I have to know, like, what could possibly, all the things that could possibly go wrong. And I'm like, look, I can't tell you all of the things that could possibly go wrong, right? I mean, there's so many, there's all the stuff that Leslie deals with. There's all the stuff that, that Michelle deals with. There's all the stuff on the lending side. And it would be impossible to try to think of all of the different ways that, something could go awry. I think that, what people like us who are experienced do better than most is, try to thwart as much of that, right? By like doing the due diligence and doing, just being able to pull from our experience. We're better than the average folk with, knowing like, okay, well, this could potentially be a
Right.
problem.
I think also if a problem arises, we all have enough experience that we know whom to call, right? Like
Yes.
problem arises with a client of mine's appraisal or the taxes or some issue, I could try to solve it, right, by
Yes.
relying on other people who have a lot of expertise. So I would
Yes.
know who to call in these cases, right? I'm not just going to say, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? I kind of know, or if an environmental issue comes up on an appraisal, I have enough of a resource to kind of tap into that.
Well,
And then
I mean, listen, that's a perfect, exactly what you're saying, that my client really benefited from the fact that I've been at my company for so long.
Right.
And I called the head of our appraisal unit and said, hey, I've got this situation. I need some guidance. And I was able to find, instead of like sending emails and trying to get to the right person and maybe losing a few days in the process, we did that yesterday and the new appraisal's being done today, right? So, and as we all know in this business, like time is money
Yeah.
too, right? Yeah.
Right. Cut to the chase. Like generally, like if once you see the problem, you got to address it head on. You can't wait 2 days, 3 days.
No.
You got to
Yeah.
more time it lags.
Yeah.
People tend to forget too.
Or
Yes.
lose it. That's the problem. You really, even when you negotiate, you have to consider the timing is really an issue because at some point people get disinterested or they move on, or you really have to like tap into the time factor. I think it's important
1,000%.
discussion. But in any event, anything else, Marie, or I think we should wrap up.
Yeah, no, I think we can wrap up. It's good to see you all. I really hope everybody is staying warm
Yeah.
in this, Arctic weather that we're having.
Right.
But you know,
But it's supposed to get warmer this weekend, 30s, in the mid
there
30s.
you go, 30s.
I wish everybody a good week.
Enjoy the week.
All right. Have a great week, ladies. Bye-bye.
Well, guys, bye-bye.